Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. This is Afefe with Touch by Tarot. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers. I saw my number. I did a collaboration with the wonderful Susan Lynn, Psychic Medium, recently, and my numbers just sort of blew up from there. So I really appreciate all you subscribers who saw me with Susan Lynn. Hopefully, not for the last time. I absolutely adore her, as do you. And I really appreciate the fact that you saw enough of me to think you might want to see and hear some more of my content as well. So welcome aboard. I am known, among many things that I do on this channel, I'm known for my pick a card readings. And you all, I'm taping this on November 9th, the day after the midterms. And I'm thinking about, while certainly there is a still, well, there's always going to be reason for hope and keeping our momentum and keeping our vibration high as it relates to, our political issues, and certainly as that relates to our personal lives and how we are impacted by larger aspects of our lives, our governmental structures, etc. But all things, especially in my practice, all things somehow, some way wind up right back with us, with our soul purpose, our focus, our intention, and how we can keep our energy up and keep ourselves connected to our guides, to higher source, to live our purpose on this earth, right? So I started thinking, I woke up this morning with my heart a little heavy. I gotta admit, I'm in Florida. A whole other thing. You get it, right? We don't even have to, we're not going to take the energy there right now. But I really woke up, you all, with my heart sort of heavy around Stacey Abrams in Georgia, to think that, she was within such a tight margin when she ran before, and to see that the numbers and how they turned out this time, for some reason, there's no correlation here, not direct correlation, but I thought about, well, what's next for her, and what will she do? What will she be positioned to do? Within within the Democratic Party. And for some reason I thought about the loss of with Clinton losing to Trump in 2016, and the fact that when that happened, behind some of her other attempts, with all of her experience, with all of her know-how, pluses and minuses with her and her history, we know. But I thought, it's interesting that she finally made up her mind. That's it for me. You're not going to see, I may offer my opinion. I may always have a voice in political circles, national politics, but she was not going to go any, that was it. She pulled the plug on running for office, or so it seems, right? We never know it. But I thought about that in the context of what's now happened with Stacey Abrams. And it made me think, this is not a political reading, but I'm using that as a launch pad because it was such a part of my thinking and my energy today, as so many of you as well, I'm sure. But I thought about, in terms of our growth, our personal growth, and staying on a path spiritually, as well as being, tied to and active in the practical things of our lives, here in America, especially right now, tumultuous times. How do we handle setbacks? How do we handle losses? How do we handle, a gut punch? And life will hand it to us in some way, some fashion. And I thought about that in terms of, for those of you who may relate to things, perhaps you have been challenged, or those around you, loved ones, have been challenged and been hit by, health concerns. Maybe there have been job losses, or having to move, some sort of upset around your home and what offers you stability. Maybe there's been some relationship issues, right? Especially too, if you follow me, I've been talking a lot in the last month or so about the eclipses that we've been undergoing and still undergoing. So solar and lunar eclipses. So lots of changes, lots of fluctuation. And I want to go to spirit today with a pick a card for you all, asking and setting my intention for guides to come through and give you advice, give us collectively. I always put myself in the mix. Give us some advice around how we can maintain our equilibrium, mind, body, spirit balance, how we can stay motivated, how we can recover from a setback, especially if it is something, for those of us who were very vested in political races around the country, and perhaps even volunteered or worked the polls, or in various ways that we even interacting here on this platform on YouTube, various ways that we feel invested, we feel, we come here for clarity and empowerment. So taking that and applying it more broadly to our lives in general, and all the areas where we may have faced or are facing a setback, and get some feedback from spirit around how to keep our energy going, how to recover, what we really need to know, what are the lessons, the deeper lessons around that. I am drawn today, you all, to mostly oracle cards, and I may just use oracle cards depending on how the messages come. I have tarot here just in case. Ooh, that wants to cut. All right, I'm not gonna look at it. That is my method as well. I don't look at the cards until I get ready to reveal them to you. So I have 3 stacks in front of me, and I'll show. I used bracelets for them. I have 3 stacks in front of me, and I will show you the bracelets. That card's jumping everywhere, you all. I'll show those to you as soon as I get the cards on the table, and then you can pick, and then depending on what you chose, that will be your stack, and that will be your message. There's again, I'm known for my picker cards. It seems to be something that really resonates with my subscribers, and I think it's because, and one of the reasons I decided to offer them is not because it looks more, like a parlor show. I don't get into that. But because I do think it contributes to the sense of empowerment. It gives you more of a direct, it's not just a Fefe's interpretation or pulling, using my energy, my spirit to pull for you, but it's also you having more of a direct choice, in what it is that you're about to see. So having that, I think that improves the experience for you, and it gives you, that ping inside of you to know that your spirit is very active as well. I'm just here to as a vessel, as it were, or as a channel, but this is really about you and how your spirit is activated. All right, so I've got about 6 decks in front of me. Let me take a moment, focus my energies, and get everything on the table, and then we'll choose. Spirit One, for those who choose these individual piles, please give guidance around the issue of what to do when there's been a setback. All areas of life, health, finances, love, just our spiritual growth, keeping ourselves motivated. Like, what is it that we need to know in order to stay strong? If there are areas that we're not paying attention, somehow our focus is being diverted, please let that come through as well. We want constructive feedback so that we can get clarity and insight and really live our purpose. And that's what this is about. Living our purpose, living our best lives, knowing that we're on track, feeling that confidence that we're doing what we were called to do. And we're also here to assist one another in that endeavor. That is certainly my goal. When I decided to launch Touch by Tarot, is, it is about, helping people be their best selves and helping people resolve, if there are blockages, let's get real about that so that we can, face it head on together and reevaluate it. I always believe, I had someone tell me a long time ago, as long as you have breath in your body, there is a chance for change. There's a chance for growth. There's a chance to turn things around. There's a chance to continue to celebrate if things have been going particularly well. How do you build on that? As long as you got breath in your body, you're cooking. All right, let's go one more. And again, so far, I'm not being led to use tarot. That might change depending on how the cards come out. If I feel like I need it for clarity, I'll do that. All right, you all. I think I have what I need. I've got the 3 stacks in front of me, and here's how you will pull. For pile number one, I have, um, it's called rhodonite. It's all about self love, growing self love. All right, pile number one, rhodonite. Pile number two, it's an evil eye bracelet. All right, we all know about the evil eye, or I assume most of us do. So it's more protective energy, more, if you've been feeling challenged in that area, you might gravitate more to that energy. And in pile number three, we have carnelian. I wish I could, it would real, yeah, it shows a little bit with a dragon on it. I hope you can see that. Carnelian with dragons etched on it, all right? So that's fiery energy, active, going forth. So we got that lovey-dove, pile number one, lovey-dove and healing heart, pile number one, protective, pile number two with that evil eye bracelet, and then we have pile number three, our fiery, active, dragon etched carnelian. All right, so I'm going to put the other two aside and let's go in for number one, the rhodonite. All right, for those of you who chose the rhodonite, let's see what Spirit said. How do you recover from a setback? How do you keep your energy high? So interesting for those. First and foremost, what strikes me is for those who were drawn to a stone that is, as I said, is about love and healing, and very often healing the inner child. This is used for. The first card that pings me is home. All right. So for those of you who chose pile number one, I would say there that what Spirit is saying right off the bat is your home is your sanctuary, and that no matter what it is that you're dealing with in life, whatever comes at you, whatever challenges, if you've taken a loss, if your home is even, under fluctuation, if there's been a little chaos in your home, or on the other hand, if you have managed, despite everything going on in the world, to keep your home as your place of peace, then this is definitely speaking to you. We have a reminder, the ever unfolding rose, cracked open, and remember, it's happening for you, not to you. I often say that in my life and in my readings. So pile number one, the guides are saying that one of the techniques that you can use, especially in your journaling and in your manifestation, in your law of attraction rituals or your prayers, is remembering and telling yourself, no matter what that challenge is or was, no matter what feels like a setback, and could even in some very real ways be a setback, that it is always happening for you, not to you. It is meant to teach you something. It is guiding you to the next place. Sometimes it is when we are uncomfortable that we find the wherewithal to make ourselves, you don't like that job, you've been in it forever, you don't want to give up the stability or the security of it, but you're supposed to do something else. Same holds true, maybe it's a relationship that's just not satisfying. Maybe you've been hesitant to enter into a relationship because your heart has been hurt in the past and you don't want to get hurt again. So there you have it. Remembering, it's putting experiences into perspective to say, it wasn't meant to hurt me or punish me. It is happening for me. It's building my soul. It is challenging me, but it's doing it for a greater purpose. And that purpose could have to do, again, going back to the home and that connection of where you feel safe and what you have built in the midst of all of those challenges or any challenges, okay? We have originality, which is really interesting. It's Mercury in Aquarius. So some of you may be an Aquarius, or Sun, Moon, or Rising, or have someone of that under that sign in your lives. But there's a part of you when you are dealing with stuff that's challenging. Spirit is coming up with originality to say, remember, especially if when things happen to you, and we all do it, you tend to think, you compare, why me? When, this seems to be going so well for this one. This person seems to have success just effortlessly. This one has love, never been without someone, etc., etc. All those ways that we look out at, at the world at large. Certainly what we are fed in media, and celebrities seeming to live this life. And really what Spirit is saying is, remember, you are an original creation. This is your life, and it is meant to be distinct, so that when you are facing challenges, rather than comparing yourself to, why me, having that why me syndrome, it's saying, you know what? It's why you, because it is your life and it is special. And those lessons, going back to happening for you, not to you, were designed especially for you. Your soul incarnated in this lifetime to meet those challenges, knowing that you would and you could. Now, we got a thorn. I told you I love Spirit. Spirit is not here to just coddle us. Spirit is here to teach us and support us. So we have a card here that says the thorn. And that is speaking to what this reading is about. All right. So there is, I want to read what it said: protection, boundaries, and clear communication. So for some of you, there could have been, when you are met with challenges, when you've had, those experiences in whatever area we talked about, health, money, various areas that we meet, things happen, it's life. To remember that it is important to stay clear in your communication with yourself, with your guides, and with whomever else is involved. And because this comes up as the thorn, I would venture to guess that for some of you, that could be an area of challenge where perhaps you have expressed your needs, your desires, you have expressed your pain, even if you've gone through therapy, and there may be a challenge feeling like you're not being heard. That might force you to kind of try to hold it in and manage it a different way. But Spirit is saying, understand that yes, you have to have your boundaries. You are meant to have boundaries that keep you feeling safe, but not to the extent that you are closed off from others. That part of you, again, going back, you were drawn to this stone of self-love, right? And inner healing. That for some of you, there is that thorn for you has either been, it could have even been, Spirit's giving me, where you have been spoken to in harsh ways. Yeah, either you were raised in that way, perhaps raised in that way, and it continued through adulthood. But there's something with you with communication that can be a little triggering. And there's that, the proverbial thorn in your side about how people speak to you, how you hear things, how you interpret things, that can be a tough go for you. And they want you to make sure you remain conscious of that and not shut down your channel of communication. There is a card here called the Pulse of the Mother, slowing down, and it's time in nature, spending time in nature. So for those of you, again, in pile number 1, here's your healing. We've seen the challenge, we've seen your environment, and now here's your path to healing. It is definitely spending time in nature. So if you are, for those of you who, I don't know if you're into crystals or into crystal healing, energy that way, but this could be your time, okay? Think about that. Think about things, tangible things that make you feel better, that bring you peace. Think about wherever you live, whether it's cold right now, the extent to which you can still, enjoy the sunlight coming through the windows. But expose yourself to the elements in ways that your skin, absorbs, your pores absorb. You can breathe into your lungs and really take pleasure in just the fact that you are alive. That's important for those of you who chose this, is that grounding that you need to kind of recenter and remember, for all the, let's keep those scales, balanced, so that for all the challenges that you have faced, and perhaps there have been a series of challenges, hasn't been an easy few years for many of us, right? That rather than, oh, here we go, the hits just keep on coming, that there's an opportunity to go and readjust your energy. That was the point and focus of this reading. How do we keep our vibration at a certain level, stay motivated and inspired despite the setbacks, right? Got it. And your final card, I saved this deliberately. The Sorcerer. Pile number 1, what Spirit is saying is, remember that for you all, it would be really helpful to get into study if you're not already doing so. Read up on alchemy, read up on how you can change energy. The sorcerer having to do with a belief, a fundamental belief in your ability to impact what happens in your life. Remember, we are co-creators, and I think sometimes that can get a little lost because we get focused on so much of, circumstances that happen to us and come our way, and then we have to adapt and figure out how to deal with that. But just putting yourself in the driver's seat, the sorcerer. And also, this comes from experience. For many of you, this is, as they say, this ain't your first rodeo. This is coming from a place of life experience and knowing that, all right, I went through this. I did that. This is what I learned. This is how I got over that hurdle. This is how my blessings came in. This is how I maintained, etc., etc. Like giving yourself that checklist of all the good that you have done, all the times that you were able to manage, perhaps in ways that you surprised yourself. You are the sorcerer. All right, pile number one. That's the one I want you to stick with really right there, in addition to everything else in terms of going forward. What does that mean to you? Magic, yes. But sorcerers understand the fundamental idea that guides are real. You and I, in our human form, yes, we are spirits having that human experience. I say it all the time, said it again. So there's that sorcerer owns that. The sorcerer energy says, I recognize that when I speak something, when I focus, when I get my vibration to a certain level, stuff happens. I am magic. All right, pile number one. There you have it. Let me know what you think. All right, we're going to move on now to pile number two. Those who chose the evil eye and the Hamza symbol, right? Protection. Let's see what Spirit has for you. You got the love. Ooh, codependency and boundaries. All right, so that could be protection from feeling overexposed. We have Jupiter in Gemini calling someone's bluff. So there's some mental jousting going on there, pile number two, between you and others, or there has been. And you might be pretty good at it, something tells me. We got boundaries again, you all. Another deck. Each one of these cards is from a separate deck. I always pay attention when I get repeating themes. I'll show these cards to you. But boundaries for you all. So that is a method of protection for you, pile number two. And it's boundaries within your spiritual space they're giving me, more so than boundaries can sometimes be hard to define. It's on the one hand, on a practical level, when you don't have a problem, you're not comfortable doing something, going someplace, being around a certain person or people in a certain environment, you don't have a problem saying, you know what, I'll sit this one out. There are people who are very comfortable setting boundaries, and there are people, especially if you tend to people pleasing, or having been raised in an environment, and then it becomes a kind of a habitual part of you, part of your personality, your persona, where you kind of just go along to get along, and you don't want to offend. Sometimes that I don't want to offend, I don't want to hurt anybody else, I don't want to disappoint others, and so then you wind up disappointing yourself. Boundaries for pile number two, very, very important. We have the Blade. And again, I'll show you these. So communication again. Healing is happening. That's what they want you to know. And your life purpose. Ooh, these came together so nicely for you, pile number two. Because again, as in pile number one, some of you may want to read more than one pile. Go to more than one pile. You may have been called. But again, what I see a challenge. I see a blessing, an outcome, and I see some of the history behind it. So let's deal with that history. The history for you, pile number two, is in how you have thought and how you have spoken and how you have acted. Sometimes, I don't want to call it recklessly, and it could even be how others have behaved, quote unquote, recklessly toward you. But there's this, when I see this bluffing, and we know Gemini is a very quick energy, it's a very astute energy, but it can be very fluctuating in the sense that what somebody told you today and you believed in it and you bought into it is not how they behaved. What they said and what they did were two different things. And so perhaps you learned to call their bluff, where you learned not to show your hand, where you learned that mental jousting. I think that's what this blade is coming up for, where you learned how to be quick on your feet, where sometimes you learned how to, for good, bad or otherwise, you learned how to jump to a conclusion. You learned how to put two and two together and get four plus, you know what I mean? Or four squared. Like you've really worked to stay ahead of the curve in how you deal with people and how you have been dealt with. That has been both your blessing and your quote unquote curse. I don't really do curses, but I say that because you were drawn to the evil eye, protective energy. So that makes me, I'm gonna double down on the idea that for those who were drawn to this pile number two, there's that saying on the show Survivor, outsmart, outwit, outlast. You've been in some of those scenarios, whether you were the person in the driver's seat or you were dealing with others that were coming toward you with this energy, and this feels very professional as well. This feels like for those of you who have been in careers where communication was very important, whether it was writing, some, computers, some form of communication had a lot to do with how you were seen in the world or how you are seen in the world and what you have to be ready to do, that give and take, that exchange. So that for you has been an area of challenge because remember, you got those two different decks with the boundary card that comes up. In one of them, it says, where do you need to establish better boundaries? And then the other, it says codependency and boundaries. So this feels like seeking approval. That for some of you, the setback and the challenge, what Spirit is saying here is that when you have asserted yourself because you, especially in a professional context, I'm really feeling business here. If you are an entrepreneur in a corporate setting, etc., or even if you're retired and that setting informed a lot of your life experience, it still applies here. There's this notion of how you view yourself or how you were taught to view yourself very often was through the eyes of others, what they were saying to you, what they were telling you, and you then internalizing it. And to some extent you had to learn how to protect yourself if ultimately your soul, your higher self, and your guides were letting you know this isn't feeling good. I don't know, there's some bluffing going on here. I don't know if I can trust it. And there could have been a point where you stopped trusting yourself. There's that codependency as well, because when you lack boundaries, it is often because you are relying on something in the outside world, being told that you're good enough, being promoted in a job setting, having that quote unquote title, reaching that, buying that home, having that status, all those things that force you to compare yourself to others. But in so doing, what happened to your boundaries? At what point did you say, you know what, it doesn't matter to me what you say, what you think, what you have, what you do, who you are called or what you are called? What matters is me. At what point did that get a little Has that been a part of your challenge, pile number two? Your message, going forward? It's awesome. You are reminded of your life purpose, and you are reminded, it says here, healing is happening. You are not broken. Trust the process. It's safe to soften. It's no accident that these two came together as your primary advice cards. So you hold those up a little more for you. All right. So pile number two, your way forward is to definitely dig into your life purpose. For some of you, if you know me, I'm a big fan of astrology, And I think I'm going to go for my certification eventually. I'm definitely applying myself and been studying tons and have gotten pretty darn good at understanding it over the past year. So, what I'm saying in terms of sharing that with you is use the resources and tools that attract you so that you feel like you have a better understanding of your life purpose, and understanding that, especially when you're dealing with a natal chart, that is your blueprint in the world. All of us have one, and everybody's is a little different, but each one is unique to us. So there's something for you, pile number 2, where it's essential. And I'm not saying it has to be astrology, whatever it is for you. Could be meditation, could be therapy, it could be, having a network of people where you discuss some of your things together and reach solutions. But whatever gets you to that place where you go, this is who I am. This is my boundary. Not boundary meant to keep anybody out, but boundary meant to establish more of who I really am. And that healing is happening, is leading you forward. The more you do this and get tied into that life purpose, that advances your healing. That is what is going to be a doorway for you, that whatever those communications have been over your lifetime, whatever you've been absorbing and sometimes accepting as truth, only to realize later it was not true. What you were told about yourself, and so much so that you began to believe it about yourself, that you at some point said, it doesn't fit and it's not making me happy. It's not who I am. Perhaps you've had to help. Children are coming to mind with me right here as well. Perhaps there's been some difficult, either you as a child growing up, or your relationship to children or younger people in some capacity, that the codependence, the understanding where they end and you begin, or you end and they begin, that got a little mucky, and that's been a part of your challenge. That's where you have faced some setbacks. Perhaps you were not given the return on investment that you put into some relationships, that you put into a job, that you put into investing your finances, your resources, that you put into investing your heart, got a little messed up. And so that healing, to the point where you'd rather bluff than really show up and let it all out. You became crafty with it as a means of survival. Nothing wrong with that. But now your healing is happening, and your healing is happening and trusting the process, because something is, I think this may even be underway already for a lot of you. Let me know if this is really pinging you, because the closer you get to this, or the more you revel in it, the more you really dig deep and sink your body, your mind, into it, because it never goes away. And it very often shifts as we age, especially. I'm a mature person, and I've gone through many, many iterations of what I felt like was really pulling me and drawing me at any given time. Ultimately, they all sort of connect, even if at the time I don't see it. Hindsight 2020, right? So there you have it. Pile number 2. There you have it. Healing is happening, and it is accelerated the more you hone in on and get in touch with. If you have not already done it, get in touch with your life purpose. If you've been knowing all along and you kind of got, swayed away from it a little bit, got a little off track, get back on track. That's your key to recovering and being able to keep your vibration high to meet whatever challenges and setbacks come your way. All right. Finally, pile number 3, our dragon etched carnelian. Let's see what's up with you all. What Spirit has to say. The cosmic heart protection, the moon in Aries. Ooh, self first, and the cosmic heart. Ooh, you all, no wonder you were drawn to a fiery element. Pile number 3, right away, I can see that you have a vast amount of energy. People feel it when they're around you. They sense it when they're around you. Anna, grandmother of Jesus. Wow, seeding the light and the divine plan. Pile number 3, you all are light workers and or shadow workers, and usually we got to do both at one point in time, right? The circle, that's that grandmother of Jesus. seeding the light, the circle. You're meant to build community. You're meant to use your voice. You're meant to use your presence. That's that light work. The bud. It's about to happen. Keep going. Ooh, there's your advice. Let's hold on to that for a minute. And passion. Ooh. Okay, I got excited. I'll tell you why in a minute when I get to that, because those are your advice cards going forward. All right. For you, pile number 3, the crux of where you're challenged, where you've been challenged, and where, perhaps it's been a real learning curve for you in life, is around showing up and being vulnerable, because there's this part of you, and a very strong part of you, that people gravitate to, or that you know that if you were to show up and really allow yourself to open up, that you deeply want to connect. You are you're not a wilting, this is not a wilting, what do they call it, wilting violet, or like a shy violet. You don't mind showing up in the room. You don't mind showing up for the people you love, for the things you love, applying yourself to things. I wouldn't be surprised if many of you who chose this pile number 3, are in fact fire signs, or have a lot of fire in your charts, because there's tremendous heart. Leo, we think Leo, the lion hearted. There's a lot of heart-centered, warm, emanating out energy that Anna, grandmother of Jesus, I want to hold her up very. Look at her. Look at how absolutely beautiful that is. Looking out over wherever you are. Now, this is a huge, I even see the Egyptian Sphinx in the background. This is a world view. But think about this even just in the context of whatever room you enter, your home, your family, your job, your friendship circle. Where you are, there is light. Light follows you where you are. And that cosmic heart is, you are deeply spiritual. You have, this is who you are. Some people have to work at it and remind themselves, this is where I want to be. For those of you who chose pile number 3, this is who you are. You came here, with the light in you. You came here desiring to show your heart, to show your feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if many of you who chose this pile number 3, you can get pretty emotional. You don't have a problem crying the tears. If the tears come up, you let them out, right? Whether or not you let somebody see it, maybe another story. But you're in touch with your emotions. Your emotions move you. They spark you into action, right? And your circle is crucial to you. So if this could be part of the challenge for those who chose this pile number 3, because we're looking at how to overcome the challenges and keep our vibration high. If you have been, pile number 3, undergoing a lot of isolation as a result, either last couple of years with the pandemic or other situations, whatever it is, it's unique to everybody. But remembering that you are meant to be a part of a larger community and a larger whole. You are meant to be where this beautiful heart of yours and these feelings of yours and this capacity that you have to connect with people. You're meant to be out there in that. And so that's, if there's been something where, not of your choosing, you've been placed in circumstances where it felt like you were cut off from people, or cut off from family, or cut off from the things that bring you joy, that's where Spirit is saying, okay, we recognize that. We recognize that that has felt like a setback to you, that has been a part of your challenge. You are meant to have a circle. You're meant to have a community. You're meant to connect with others, to show up, to let others experience what it's like to just be in your presence. Very healing, very positive, and very protective that you have. You are protected. We have this moon in Aries. You came here. Your guides are all over you, protecting you. And it is divine. It is extremely divine. It is angelic. It is ancestral. There are a variety of energies that come around you, because for you to come across this strongly at that level, look at how, again, I want to show you that. Look at how much she oversees. Male or female, or however you identify, non-binary. But the idea is your essence, your soul shows up big. It covers a lot of ground. And therefore, you were required in this lifetime to have a lot of protection around you so that it doesn't get polluted. And that's a real thing, because when we're talking about the challenges and when we're talking about living in this earth, and especially when we're talking about living in this particular time in this earth, there are all sorts of things that could seep in and kind of mess up your vibe and get into your energy field. But pile number 3, you all have it so deeply ingrained in you. It, even if it hits for a minute, even if you have a couple of bad days or a bad month or even a bad year, it's not there to stay. You're not programmed for that. Let me go to your advice cards, and I'm going to tell you why I'm doubling down on it. I got really excited because remember, I said with that carnelian, you're dealing with fiery energy, you're dealing with passionate energy, you're dealing with um, confidence and courage and creativity, you're dealing with showing up. And doggone, look at that orange showed up, right? You got passion. You got passion, pile number 3. The dragon that's etched in there. So for you all, living the life that you were born to live and showing up and healing others, healing yourself by healing others is huge. And it is what inspires you. It is, the more you connect with others, the more your soul is fed. The more good that you do, the more light that you spread in the world, the more good deeds that you perform, volunteering, connecting, interacting with your community and with others in need. That is a passion. I would venture many of you may have either been involved in nonprofit organizations or may think about volunteering with them or starting one, but that there's that passion for doing good. There is that passion for showing up and showing your heart. And here we have the bud. It's about to happen. Keep going. Potential promise. So Spirit is saying, pile number 3, whatever your ideas have been, whatever you're working on, the bud, it has already been seeded and it is starting to bloom. It is starting to take shape, whether or not you see it on a daily basis, whether or not all the pieces seem to be coming together for you, if this is health, whether or not your recovery is in full swing or whether it's coming in dribs and drabs, it is in motion. And for you, there is, I would say, think about, again, if you don't already wear crystals, think about warm crystals, fiery crystals, citrine, carnelian. They're crystals that will hone in on that natural light and fire and increase it within you, really warming up your essence and your heart center so that you can continue to show up for others. Because for you, which is a beautiful thing, it's not just about, sometimes people think I give, and it feels depleting, like you're giving so much that you're just kind of like, woo, and that can happen. It's a real thing. It's happened to your girl a time or two. But when you are operating and allowing yourself to feed off of the good that you are doing and really reveling in your passion because you know what it is and you know why you're here. You've seen the response that people have to you. You've seen, when you have shown up and shown out in certain circumstances. You've seen the results, and that's what Spirit wants you to know. Don't be afraid. Don't hesitate or think that at some point it's going to run out or you're going to be taken advantage of, or we all go through that. But for you, the takeaway is it's why you're here. Ooh, I'm sorry, wrong way. You're protected, and it's why you're here. You're here to help it, the circle of life, the circle of life, and being a part of it, using your presence, your voice, your resources, your energy, your prayers, even with that Mother Mary, your prayers, even just your prayers. Somebody could, you don't even have to be, you could be by yourself, and just your ability to pray for people and the way that your angels and Spirit responds to you and will move at your behest. Pile number 3. I want to be your friend. So, oh, excuse me, I almost got a hiccup on that one. So, okay, you guys, I hope it was helpful. Let me know. Again, you might have been led to more than one pile, but let me know what you thought. And be sure, in all things, and at all times, we are moving ahead. Our lives are a progression. And as long as we have air, earth, and oxygen in our lungs, it's a wide open field. We can continue to make change happen. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.